most likely the M3 or M4 processor inside it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be the best Mac or Apple Silicon Mac in the world. But is it worth it for the average person? Good morning, children aged 12 to 45. Please don't take this lightly when I say that I'm getting dangerously close to being able to get monetized. And by dangerously, I mean dangerously. So you guys better subscribe now before you get bombarded by ads. I'm just kidding. I won't do that. Not yet. So basically, a variety of leakers currently are all saying that Apple is working on 2 Mac Pro models. One of the Mac Pro models will be a Apple-designed system-on-chip in a case that's about half the size of the current Mac Pro. That one will be using Apple Silicon. We'll talk about that in just a bit. But first, let's talk about the Intel version, because it's literally the worst thing in the world. The Intel model will just be a standard upgrade from the model we have right now. Slightly faster CPU, slightly faster GPU. That's about it, really. I mean, I guess maybe the storage options will get better. I really don't think Apple will be adding anything else or lowering the price. So yeah, if you're planning on getting a Mac Pro, do not get the Intel version, no matter how Apple advertises it. The correct version for you to get is the Apple Silicon model. And by correct, I mean get it if you have to, because I actually don't recommend this product. I know I'm the ultimate Apple sheep. I recommend like every single Apple product. Not this one though. Not this one. The Apple Silicon Mac Pro is gonna be great. It's gonna be the return of the king. Do you know why? Because rumor has it, it's gonna be a mostly aluminum exterior, at least according to Mark Gurman, which is pretty reliable. He says that the new design will remind people of the Power Mac G4 Cube. It might seem trivial to some people that Apple's going back in design. Like the standard Mac Pro right now is only what, like 1.5 years old? It's really not that old. Why is Apple making 2 models of this really unpopular product? In the keynote where Apple talks about the M1 processor, they said that they're moving on to Apple Silicon from Intel, and it's going to be at most a 2-year transition. Apple Silicon were released in the form of M1 first inside the MacBook Air and MacBook Pro, also the Mac Mini. And then they're going to be adding more and more, and by the time of the 2-year mark, everything that Apple sells will have their own processors. Because that they said that, they can't really backtrack on it, and that means they have to transition the Mac Pro as well. It's not going to be a big product, but similar to, say, the Mac Pro wheels or the Pro Display XDR, Apple doesn't expect much people to buy them. But it's good to say they're there, and it's a good show of their technology. So I wouldn't expect the Mac Pro to be cheap. I think Apple still focuses on the Mac Mini for that. If you want a cheaper alternative to a desktop computer, get the Mac Mini. At least that's what Apple wants you to do. So the G4 Mac Pro will not be cheap and maybe not that practical even. If you look at the 2015 trash can Mac Pro, you can see that design actually works perfectly if you think about it. With Apple Silicon, barely any heat is generated. So you don't need a fan, unlike the Mac Pro, which is designed for airflow. The heat radiates out from the top, which actually makes a lot of sense with Apple Silicon, because again, the thermals that it creates are so low that the hot air just rises by itself. It's a silent design, it works perfectly. So why did Apple make the Mac Pro then, the actual Mac Pro we have right now? I think it's because the dedicated Apple design team for making the processors and the team for making the actual Macs, or the Mac Pros at least, are not really communicating that well. Because that the processors were already in development for so long, there's no reason for the Mac Pro to exist, or the Mac Pro right now. If you look at it, it's designed for airflow, it's designed for Intel. It's modular, which is the polar opposite of Apple Silicon. If Apple has thought just a bit more about the Mac Pro, I don't think the 2019 Mac Pro would have existed at all. So now they're backtracking on their design and making it no longer modular again. From leaks and from what we know, the Apple Silicon Mac Pro will be half the size of the normal Mac Pro right now. It's going to be a cube, and it's going to be a mostly aluminum exterior for probably heat dissipation. And if it does remind people of the Power Mac G4 Cube, then most likely it's going to have the vent on top as well. That's literally a 2015 Mac Pro, the trash can Mac Pro all over again. I'm not saying the trash can Mac Pro is really trash. I actually like the design, so this actually makes me feel a little bit better. But just remember, this is not a budget product. Apple wants you to get the Mac Mini for that. So, what does that mean? That means this will be a expensive, most likely like over $4,000 Mac. That's a cube. I'm not criticizing it for being a cube. I'm just saying it's a backwards design. It's expensive, and there's simply no use for it. Apple isn't really focusing on this. They're making it for the sake of existing. They're not making it for the sake of selling it that well. So I seriously doubt they're going to be putting much new technology in this and investing millions of dollars in designing a new product that's innovative. I'm not saying that this is a bad product. I think it's a great product with the Apple Silicon, most likely the M3 or M4 processor inside it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be the best Mac or Apple Silicon Mac in the world. But is it worth it for the average person? I'm sorry to break it to you guys, but there's a lot better options out there. For example, the new iMacs that's going to be releasing soon, that's going to be a lot more practical. It comes with the display, the peripherals, you know. It's rumored that it's going to be larger as well. And the Apple Silicon chips will most likely not be that different. Sure, the Mac Pro will be a lot more powerful, but what is a lot more in Apple terms? Because the Apple Silicon for the Mac Mini already increased its GPU by like 6 times. That's 600%. Is that a lot more? Is a lot more like 100%? Because I don't think that much difference is going to be between the iMacs and the Mac Pro of Apple Silicon, aside from the price. So it really comes down to price here. If you think it's worth it, if you believe in Apple that much, if you believe in the Mac Pro, you worship the Mac Pro, wait out for it. And the final nail in the coffin, this really pains me to say, is that it's going to be coming out in the end of this year. I know, we are all impatient little horrible people. So, based on the timeline of what I gathered, Apple will be most likely releasing their iMacs later next month, in possibly March, and their new redesigned MacBook Pros will be coming out somewhere in the third quarter of this year. So this means that because this is more powerful, Apple tends to release more powerful Macs later on in the year. The Mac Pro will most likely be coming out in the fourth quarter, or even the second half of the fourth quarter of this year. That's like October, November, December. These are late months. And if you really have to wait that long for potentially a underwhelming product, it might just be in your favor to wait one more month, get the iMac instead. But this doesn't seem like a good deal. It's going to be more than $4,000, that's for sure. It's going to have a backward design. The speed might not even be that much better than the iMacs, and it doesn't come with a screen. And finally, Apple isn't going to be putting innovative products and innovative components inside here simply because this is made for the sake of saying it's made. If this has convinced you not to get the Apple Silicon Mac Pro and you're thinking of getting the Intel Mac Pro, that's even worse. That's like, when I say I don't recommend this product, I'm not saying it's a bad product. I give it a 7 out of 10, actually. It's a good product, just not a great one. And the Intel Mac Pro, that's like a 4 out of 10. So, I hope this video was informative about the smaller new 2021 Apple Silicon Mac Pro, and the Intel one as well, hopefully. If you guys want to check out my videos talking about the Apple Silicon iMac for this year in just a month, and also the Apple Silicon MacBook Pros that are coming out, which I think are a lot better in value than whatever this is. Check the videos out right here on the screen right now. I think they're amazing products, and I might even be picking up one of them. That's it. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.